Festival and its exhibition, The Gay Harlem Renaissance, which invites visitors to immerse themselves in Black LGBTQ plus life of the 1920s and 30s. More at nyhistory.org.
This is WNYC, 93.9 FM and AM 820, NPR News and the New York Conversation.
Marketplace is supported by Yubico, makers of the YubiKey. YubiKey helps protect important digital applications and services. YubiKey, still undefeated, the original passkey. More at yubico.com.
How exactly does one operate in a data-deprived economy? From American Public Media, this is Marketplace.
Marketplace is supported by LHH. LHH believes that recruitment doesn't have to feel cold. Through craft, care, and passion, it can be beautiful. LHH, a beautiful working world. Learn more at lhh.com/beautiful. And by Revenued, providing working capital for businesses whose cash flow is holding them back. Revenued approves businesses based on revenue, not credit, with funds approved and available in a day. More at getrevenued.com. And by Schwab. Schwab knows that investors want control of their financial future. That's why when it comes to wealth management, Schwab is dedicated to giving investors more choices. More at schwab.com.
I'm Kai Risdall. It is Tuesday, today the 21st of October. Good as always to have you along, everybody. We are going to continue today with the thought experiment that we've been running pretty much since the shutdown started. Without actual government data to depend on, which way do we think the labor market is going? We've seen plenty to convince us it's kind of slow to a crawl. The last 4 monthly jobs reports that we got were pretty meh. Job openings have been trending lower. Kristen Schwab was telling us yesterday recruiters have been seeing a pretty mixed picture as companies hold off investing in new people. But we're going to examine the flip side of the labor market coin today because there is something happening out there that could turn things around. Marketplace's Justin Ho gets us going.
Hiring is a lot weaker than it was back when companies were scrambling to staff up after the pandemic. That means people are staying in their jobs longer.
And as people have gotten used to their new roles that they got during the pandemic high turnover period, they've been more productive in their jobs.
That's George Perks, macro strategist at Bespoke Investment Group. He says businesses have made themselves more productive since the pandemic, too. Imagine you run a bakery.
Maybe you rearrange the layout of your bakeries or change your production process somehow, and suddenly you're now producing a lot more than you were per worker relative to a few years ago.
And producing more bread means generating more profit.
And eventually businesses will have to step in and say, okay, if we want to sell more bread, we need to hire more bakers.
In other words, strong productivity growth can send a signal to businesses that they could rake in even more profits if they hire more workers. That's why Perks expects hiring overall to pick up.
Whether that's in the next couple months or in the next couple quarters is hard to say. But at some point, it'll be hard for firms to grow without investing more in labor.
But right now, many companies are nervous about hiring, says Nicole Cervi, an economist at Wells Fargo.
And so even if you are a firm, let's say, that's enjoying productivity growth, you haven't necessarily turned around and tried to act on that because you're uncertain about how demand for your product is actually going to evolve in these next few months or in the next year.
But Cervi says productivity growth can boost consumer demand. That's because more productive businesses can afford to raise wages.
Wage growth has actually been pretty steady. And so I think that's the evidence of where you're seeing that firms are passing along some of that productivity gains via real income growth to consumers.
Cervi says that should support the labor market over the next year. I'm Justin Ho for Marketplace.
On Wall Street today, traders kind of took a breather. We will have the details when we do the numbers. This is a busy week for corporate earnings, as we touched on yesterday. And with those tallies of how companies did in the quarter just passed, come their predictions for how they are going to do over the next couple of quarters, which is one of the main things investors are interested in since they buy and sell stocks in anticipation of future earnings. But here's the thing. Companies are making those projections, trying to figure out how the economy is going to develop and affect their bottom lines in a shutdown-induced data drought. So how reliable do you suppose all those corporate earnings outlooks might be? Marketplace's Mitchell Hartman has that one.
To start with, big corporations have a lot of their own proprietary data, known only to them. Reports coming in from the field about how much product is shipping from factories and warehouses, how fast it's moving off shelves and out of showrooms.
They have their P&L.
That's profit and loss statements, says CFRA analyst Garrett Nelson.
Update on practically a daily basis. So they know exactly 3 weeks into the fourth quarter how their sales are looking, how their margins are appearing.
And, says Yale finance professor Matthew Spiegel, to make projections, they're comparing all that to their numbers for previous years and quarters.
None of that involves any government data, right? That's just what we've had sales of in the past and what we've got booked now.
So far, not that much impact from the absence of government economic data. But in specific sectors, it can make more of a difference to corporate projections, says Spiegel.
Suppose you're a housing builder. You might want to know where unemployment is high and where it's low, so you know where to sort of focus your construction.
Still, there are private sector alternatives to some missing government data. The Mortgage Bankers Association, for instance, collects information on builder applications from lenders, says Mike Frattantoni.
And we use it to create an estimate to predict the Census Bureau's new home sales number. Today, it's a replacement.
For the missing Census Bureau report, helping companies predict what supply, demand, and prices might do in the coming year. The lack of government economic data about how consumers are doing will matter more as time goes on to retailers, manufacturers, and the Fed, gradually creating more uncertainty for corporate business predictions, says CFRA's Garrett Nelson.
You're just going to see companies being a lot more conservative, cautious with the guidance.
Which he says can be a good thing for them, because when companies lowball their earnings outlooks, they can more easily beat them. I'm Mitchell Hartman for Marketplace.
Let's do the numbers. Dow Industrial's up 218 points today, 0.5%, 46,924. The Nasdaq down 36 points, 0.2%, 22,953. The S&P 500 unchanged, 6735. Emily Stewart and I were just talking about the used car market. Carvana drove up 5 4/10% today. Lithia Motors added 9/10%. CarMax revved up 3 9/10%. Beyond Meat soared in the markets today after announcing a deal with more than 2,000 Walmart stores in the United States. Shares skyrocketed 146%. Mitchell was talking about earnings. GM accelerated 14.9%. Coca-Cola fizzed up 4%. 3M gained 7 7/10% today. You are listening to Marketplace.
The Numbers is supported by Odoo.com, your entire business on one platform. Marketplace is supported by UKG. Their HR, pay, and workforce management tools are designed to help business leaders build trust and empower their people. UKG, because when work works, everything works. More at ukg.com/work. And by Mercury. Mercury combines banking and financial software to help businesses send money, create invoices, pay bills, and more. All in one place. Learn more at mercury.com. And by the University of Illinois' Geese College of Business, providing a fully online MBA degree that encourages learners to apply what they learn in real time without having to put their career on hold. Online mba.illinois.edu.
Have you ever wondered how you would feel if tomorrow you woke up and public radio was just gone?
Oh, man, that would be tough.
I think it would be devastating.
Well, I would grieve because there would be no replacement for it.
We asked listeners around the country that very question.
I've been listening to NPR for a long time, so NPR has been a giant part of my life. And I would be devastated if it wasn't there anymore.
It would be a very depressing ride to work. I don't know if there's enough cups of coffee in the world that would be able to get me over that.
There really is nothing else like it.
We donate, but there's a lot of people out there that listen that probably don't donate. And I think that's a really great thing to put into perspective is how would you feel?
There's an easy way to feel good about public radio and the financial health of your station. Just support it. Really, do it right now. Call or go online. Your tax-deductible contribution will help ensure public radio isn't going anywhere. It'll be here when you turn on your radio tomorrow. And thanks.
The number to call to contribute to WNYC is 888-376-9692. You can go online to WNYC.org. This is a critical moment in WNYC's history. So we've been defunded. If you've been following the news, surely you are familiar with that. If you are not, basically what happened is that Congress said, the nearly $3 million that WNYC gets a year through the Corporation for Public Broadcasting and all of the other money that all the other stations around the country get, we're not going to give that anymore. And that's the reality of the situation. I'm not making a political or partisan statement at all. That's literally the facts. That is what happened. And we now have to deal with the fallout of that. And that is what this pledge drive, that's at the root of this pledge drive, is figuring out how do we collectively overcome that challenge? How are we going to do that? $3 million a year? What are we going to do? Luckily, we have you listening right now who knows WNYC is a cherished institution of our community, who knows that it provides up-to-date news and information, emergency information, cultural programming, all the laughs, the cries, everything you get here at WNYC. You know how important it is. So what we're asking you to do is stand up and put a dollar amount on that and contribute that to WNYC in a sustained way, becoming a sustaining member of WNYC to help fill that nearly $3 million a year gap. Stand for WNYC right now by contributing at 888-376-9692 or go online to WNYC.org.
Sean, they say, quotes, in that they say that when something bad happens, you realize who your friends are.
Yeah.
I think that when something like this happens, we are seeing people step up and say, and we are hearing from people stepping up and saying, yeah, I got you.
Yeah.
I got you.
Yeah.
And so what we're asking now is for you to join them. You are hearing what Sean and I are saying right now.
Mm-hmm.
You are hearing the urgency in our voice. Take that next step. Join the people who have come out and said, I'm here for you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm here for you. I'm here for this. And not just because, we're asking, but because they're getting something out of it. They're getting great radio every day, 24/7, every day. We deliver for you.
Yeah.
And so what we are asking for is you to step up, join them, make a contribution at 888-376-9692, WNYC.org.
If you believe fearless, independent journalism is essential to our democracy, and if you think intelligent, measured conversation about important issues strengthens our community, well then we ask that you become a sustaining member of WNYC right now. If it's in your means, you can join us at the $100 a month level. You'll become a member of the Producers Circle. You'll be entered into all the contests, receive a station tour, and be invited to other events. But more importantly, you'll not only pay for the shows you listen to, you'll also help those who may not be able to contribute. So, if WNYC adds value to your life and you're in a position to give $100 a month to ensure this important community resource can be there for all of us, please do it right now. Here's how.
Call 888-376-9692 or go online to WNYC.org. Click donate. $100 a month gets you into that producer circle. Meet folks like Tiffany and myself, take station tours, go to special events, things like that. I just want to make a quick appeal to folks who do have the means right now. I got my start in Alaska. It was a community radio station. That's what they call it, community radio, right? And a community like that in a very small place, 8,000 people, really look after one another. When folks have the means to, they look out for people in the community who don't have the means to, and that's how it works. New York City is the same thing. It's a community. It's one of 8.5 million people, but still a community. So if you have the means to give big to WNYC, I'm asking you to do that right now. Provide WNYC to folks in our community who maybe don't have the means to right now. Go big. $5,000, $10,000. I know you're listening right now. I know you're hearing me. I want you to give that to WNYC right now. 888-376-9692. And thanks.
This is Marketplace. I'm Kai Ryssdal. You cannot, of course, time the markets. That's just a truism of investing. Here, though, is the business and economic journalism corollary. As soon as you schedule a piece on one slice of the markets or another, that slice will invariably do the exact opposite of whatever the reason was that you decided to do the story in the first place. Exhibit A for us today, element number 79 on the periodic table, gold. After months of going straight up, figuratively anyway, it took a bit of a dip today, off about 5.5%, but and still it remains above $4,100 an ounce, a price level that's got people trying to get in on this new gold rush, quite literally. Tuping Chen wrote about it in the Wall Street Journal. Welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me.
Tell me about some of these people who are going out and mining for gold.
Yeah, so it really runs the gamut. I mean, you have folks who've been doing this for a long time who are very dedicated, going all over, driving across the country looking for gold. You've got sort of newbies who have just jumped in because of gold prices, and some families who are just looking for screen-free activity. So it really ranges.
I said mining. They're probably panning, right? They're in rivers and stuff?
I mean, it's panning. You've got folks who've got like their little picks. You've got chisels. You've got sluice boxes. There's a lot of different gold mining apparatuses out there that people are trying.
All right. Even with gold as expensive as it is, setting aside the drop today, it's not like they're making money from the actual gold, yeah?
Maybe not a lot. That said, there are definitely people who have found other ways to turn it into more serious cash, including by turning into like gold mining influencers, which is now a thing.
Are you kidding me? Stop it. Seriously?
Journeys, yep.
Gold mining influencers?
Yep. That is the real gold. You go out, you show people how it's done, you take a lot of pretty photos, and surprise, a lot of people want to follow you maybe and figure out how to strike it rich.
On this social media thing, though, I mean, what kinds of, are they making like how-to videos? How much are they making? Do we know?
In some cases, it might literally be a how-to video, but often, it's just kind of fun to follow along on someone's journey. And so you might see people posting, hey, this is what I found today. Here was my haul. But yeah, I mean, you can make some not insignificant money from it. I spoke to one family who the father loves panning for gold, mining for gold. He uses a variety of different tools, and he started bringing along his kids because he doesn't want them on screens all day. So this is a great way to get outside and get his kids really into something else. And they've definitely found, they found gold, but they also, more substantively have made about $30,000 just based off their social media presence online.
Wow. Also, much like the actual original gold rush, it's people selling equipment and gear and all that stuff to these folks going out looking for gold, yeah?
Absolutely.
Well, so tell me more about that, because, it's not like somebody's going to build a Levi's fortune. Levi's, of course, sold dungarees to the original, gold rush people. It's not like that's going to happen this time.
No, but you do see people who are starting their own storefronts, many of them virtual, selling equipment. And so, yes, that could be everything from pans to sluice boxes or gear, branded sort of gold-themed gear. And people who are offering guided tours.
Well, look, I mean,
anything really that you can think of.
You got to capitalize on the moment, right?
And it definitely is one.
Yeah. Gold Mine Museum in South Dakota. You talked to a woman running that. What's business been like for her?
Yeah, so a lot of these different sites, whether it's South Dakota or in California, sort of historic mining museums have been getting a lot of phone calls. The woman that I spoke to, she's been seeing a lot of interest in people who want to come and take their gold panning lessons and even go home with some of these bags of pay dirt that they sell for about $55 for a 5-gallon bag. So
seriously?
It's
wow.
Yeah, it's not trivial cash.
No.
But people take it home, pan in their garage.
Wow.
Why not?
Well, absolutely.
Apparently it sells.
Absolutely,
She
why
says
not?
it keeps selling.
Absolutely, why not? Let's get serious here for a minute, or more serious, right? Because these people, and that was not fair, these people take this very seriously, even if they're only just having fun. What does this say, not so much the panning and the mining, but the way gold has gone up? What does it say about how people are feeling in this economy right now?
I think it's a moment when a lot of people are feeling uneasy and uncertain about economic prospects, looking for something that feels stable. Gold, of course, has always been that thing that, has a sense of safety about it. And so, yeah, you see more people at the same time turning to, again, a very time-trusted way of trying to get rich, even if maybe it doesn't always pan out.
Yeah.
No pun intended.
No pun intended. That's right. Good for you. Tuping Chen at the Wall Street Journal. The headline on the piece, which I love, is "I'm out of the office. I'm digging for gold." Tuping, thanks a lot. I appreciate your time.
Thanks, Kai.
I'll begin a setup to this next story with the confession that monetary policy, interest rates basically, can be, dense. a little boring sometimes. But at the same time, it's really important too. It's all about the cost of money, which I mention because there's a big change coming. Not necessarily in the actual interest rates the Federal Reserve sets, but one of the other ways the central bank runs this economy. Back in the financial crisis and during the pandemic, the Fed bought a ton, like in the trillions of dollars worth of securities, U.S. Treasury bonds, mortgage-backed securities, and a bunch of others, as it tried to stimulate the economy, getting cash into the system. It has been letting those securities just expire and roll off its balance sheet. But sometime in the next couple of months, probably, the Fed is going to put that on pause and start buying new treasuries to replace the old ones. Marketplace's Sabri Ben-Achour has the "why are they doing that" story for us today.
At one point, back in 2022, the Federal Reserve had a vast hoard of $8 trillion worth of government bonds and mortgage-backed securities that it bought. It had gobbled them up to keep the financial system running, hold down interest rates, stimulate the economy.
But right now, the Fed doesn't need to use that tool.
Bill Nelson is chief economist at the Bank Policy Institute. No pandemic, no crisis, no need. So for the past 3 years, the Fed's been whittling down its pile of treasuries and whatnot, just letting them expire, gradually not buying as many new ones.
The Fed's been very, they're approaching this very cautiously.
Ken Kuttner is a professor of economics at Williams College.
They don't want to go too far.
They don't want to go too far because all that buying up of securities actually has another purpose besides fighting complete economic meltdown. And it's kind of still very important.
It is used to sort of toggle up and down, the quantity of money or liquidity in markets.
Russell Brownback is Deputy Chief Investment Officer for Global Fixed Income at BlackRock. When the Fed gives money to a bank to buy a treasury or a security, it just kind of creates that money out of nothing.
It will print money and then go into the markets and buy assets from private sector holders.
When the Fed makes up this money, it is usually sent to what are known as reserves. These are bank accounts for banks. They keep them at the Fed. This is money banks use and lend amongst themselves when they're in a little bit of a pinch. They got to make a loan, but they're waiting on a deposit from somebody else. Or some company's buying another company, but the bank can't move the money fast enough to cover other deposits. It's bank money for bank problems. When there's not enough of it, that is a very big problem.
One example of that was September of 2019, the last time the Federal Reserve was shrinking its balance sheet.
Seth Carpenter is global chief economist at Morgan Stanley. Reserves got to a very low level.
And so when it came time during the day for a borrower in money markets who said, hey, I need to borrow some money, a lot of the banks said, well, not from me today.
Not today. I barely have enough reserves for myself.
And some borrower gets caught short. And when borrowers get caught short, they start to get more aggressive in bidding for it. They say, I'm willing to pay more and more and more in interest in order to borrow money. And you see money market rates start to go up dramatically.
Interest rates within the banking system that September started to shoot up. Nobody wanted to lend. It was a big mess, and the Fed had to come in and fix it by lending banks a bunch of money. This is what the Fed wants to avoid today. So it'll have to buy some securities just to make sure there is enough money swishing around in the plumbing of the banking system for the pipes to work and the banks to bank. In New York, I'm Sabri Ben-Achour for Marketplace.
Marketplace is supported by Solidigm. Today's AI ambitions require a different approach to storage. Solidigm offers solid-state storage solutions optimized for AI with higher capacities, greater speed, and energy efficiency. StorageForAI.com. And by Odoo, dedicated to providing software designed to scale with businesses. Odoo's programs for manufacturing, accounting, and more aim to provide building blocks for creating a custom software suite. Odoo, what businesses need.
Some days I just talk too much, and this is one of them. No time for a final today. Jordan Menges, O'Neill Maharaj, Janet Wynn, Olga Oxman, Virginia K. Smith, and Tony Wagner are the digital team. I'm Kai Ryssdal. We will see you tomorrow, everybody. This is APM.
These times of ours,